Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, and welcome to the show on this Friday, August 5th, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Imagine for a minute if you were in Spain. Okay, this is actually true. This is what they're really going to do in Spain. Look at your thermometer for your air conditioning. Okay, and you know they've had an awfully hot summer in Europe. They've had a heat wave that's just unbelievable. You can look at your air conditioner and your thermostat inside your house, and you know how hard it is to sleep at night if the temperature is above 80 degrees or up near 80 or even maybe even 76, 77. You just lay there and you sweat. You toss and turn and sweat. Okay, so they're trying to put new laws in Spain that they're going to fine you 600,000 euros if you turn your thermometer over 80, you set your thermometer lower than 80 degrees. Now, I know an awful lot of you guys set your thermometer lower than 70 over here in this country, but you can imagine if they had a law set over here in this country where you weren't allowed to go below 80 degrees. I mean, your air conditioner just wouldn't kick in at all. I mean, you just sit there and swelter all night long and the air conditioner would not turn on. And if it did turn on, what's it going to cost you? 600,000 euros. Well, you say, well, what is 600,000 euros? A euro's worth more than $1 each. And suddenly you get the idea. That's like over $700,000. Fines. Can you imagine a fine that high? Just for turning your thermostat on? To get a little bit of cool air in the nighttime when you can't sleep and you're sweating all night? Because you got a heat wave coming through the country? And if you think it's going to get any better for the Spaniards come this winter, they ain't going to be able to heat their houses. You're going to be freezing your butt off. Well, at least you can sleep most times in that kind of circumstance. Well, they have to bundle up. They're going to have to break out every blanket they ever had out of the closet this winter. So from cooking all summer to freezing all winter, that's what they're going to go to. Let's get the charts open. Let's start the charts right here. Take a look at what's going on out there. Argentina. It says, vows not to go full Weimar, will stop printing money amidst 60% inflation. It says, hours after Argentina's new Minister of the Economy, Sergio Massa, was sworn into office, he pledged to stop printing money in an attempt to halt the spiraling currency crisis, which has seen inflation hit 60% and has projected to reach 90% by the end of the year. Okay, and what are they going to do? It says the country's deteriorating economic picture has left it cut off from international capital markets. As Fernandez administration has relied on printing money to cover its chronic physical debt. So I can see this cycle starting to form here. And not just in Argentina, but in a lot of other countries, including here in North America, where they print a whole bunch of money to try to get out of their problems, which creates more problems, such as inflation and so on. Like we can see that right here in the United States. And then they try to stop printing the money, and the money starts to disappear because it's a credit-based system. So that can only last so long before they have to go back to printing again. And it's kind of like maybe an animal being led off to the slaughterhouse, and he's balking. He slows down. The process is just walking along toward that inevitable conclusion by sitting down on the ground or pulling back on the rope, that's leading him. And that's the countries. They're being led down this road to hyperinflation. And they balk at it by stopping the money printing process, but that's only going to work it's not going to work for so long because you're in a credit-based system. You have to have that credit to make the system actually even function. So ultimately, where does it lead in the end? Well, ultimately it leads toward the currencies losing value, and we're starting to see the periphery currencies out there, like here in Argentina and in Turkey these countries are starting one by one, these proliferate. These are the countries that surround the empire, not the empire itself, but the countries surrounding it are starting to lose, their currency is starting to lose value. These are warning signs for the hyperinflation that's coming. Inevitably, it'll make its way to the empire, which is the dollar. And it is making its way to the dollar. The real rate of inflation right now is destroying about 17% of your purchasing power every year, valued in dollars. And that's what they're trying to slow down, the Federal Reserve, through their quantitative tightening and their raising interest rates. And by the way, let's get in there and take a look at the price of silver, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, about one of the things that's going on with the bonds and why the market stabilized, and why it could, if the trend continues, why it could destabilize again quite soon. Okay, $19.90 for the silver price today. It's down 25 cents, but it's bounced back because it was down below 1960, which was about, I guess 35 cents lower than it is right now, or maybe 40 cents lower. So we did have a huge drop here. This almost could call it a flash crash. Well, that's a flash crash. That meets the definition and criteria of a flash crash earlier in the silver market. Let's take a look at gold real quick here. Gold. Gold today is down $15.20, and we had a little flash crash in gold that saw the price go all the way down here to, what is it, 1766, something like that. 1766, about $10 lower than it is right now. And now it's stabilized off at this price of 1776. Cryptocurrency today. We're looking at 1091, so it's going up because yesterday it was like 1050. And those are in billions, so that's 1,091,000,000,000. We're looking at a Bitcoin price of 23,218 and an Ethereum price of 1,699. And they both seem to be going up right now at this moment. Okay, let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average today. You notice I added Ethereum? I'm going to be doing that from now on. I'm going to be doing not just the Bitcoin price, but the Ethereum price too, because what we're actually seeing here is the potential for two top coins is there, So I'm adding the Ethereum price anyway. Dow Jones today is 32,719 today, and it's down 7 points, which is nothing really. Let's take a look at crude oil at $89.56, and so it's under $90. So that's good for us at the pump. We're not going to see it quite as high as it was when it peaked there a while ago. Move index today, 120.57. And moving on, we're going to take a look at bonds and rates today. And this is important right here. This is a large movement in the U.S. 10-year yield. 16.6 basis points is huge. It's up to 2.84 just in one day. You got to understand, in the present market condition that we're in right now, when you see the U.S. 10-year start to crack above 3%, you're going to see the volatility enter into the market, into the markets. And we could see the markets roll downwards a little bit. Markets, I'm talking about most specifically like the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones and so on, I'm talking about the markets. So that volatility enters back into the markets when we start to breach the 3%. And we just made a huge move up towards 3%. Now, the opposite holds true. When we see that 10-year start to drop, the yields start to fall, then we see the market stabilize and start to go back up a little bit again. And so right now we're seeing a very large movement to the upside. This means that whatever the Fed was doing to stabilize the markets by injecting liquidity, behind the scenes, they've tapered off doing that right now, and they I guess they've got the all clear signal. You know, the markets have stabilized at about 32,000 instead of being going below 30,000, and so they're easing off on what they were doing. But believe me, they will come back and do what they have to do if the markets start to destabilize again and start to fall. So we're looking at a 10-year yield, and we're looking at a 30-year yield that's breached 3%, 3.09. It's up 13 basis points. So we're seeing rather large climbs in the yields on these treasuries. If they left the treasuries alone, the treasury market alone, we would probably see the rates want to normalize. You know, all the markets out there, they all want to find fair market value. There is no fair market value right now. And so what would happen is we would see treasury yields, everything would burst. When treasury yields rise, that's a bursting of the treasury market. All the markets would go bust. We'd see the other markets fall, you know, by 70, 80, 90%. And we would see these rates climb, you know, and this is a bursting of everything. The bursting of the everything bubble. We would see it if markets were to normalize and find fair market value. Ain't going to happen. They ain't going to let it happen. These markets are all controlled. And so it's very difficult to predict a controlled market. But probably, I mean, it's teaching me. And you say, well, what's it teaching you, Glenn? I'll tell you what it's teaching me. It's teaching me not to expect huge swings or any huge amounts of volatility in the markets, because they're going to control that. You know, this big drop everybody talks about, oh, the market's going to drop by 80, 90%. Don't count on it. Not with the Fed standing there, not under their watch. They're not going to let that happen. You know, but they will let a smaller size drop happen in the markets. They'll stand back and let that happen. And even that's controlled. They have a marker set where they're not going to let it go below a certain point. Just don't forget how powerful they are, that entity is, the Fed Reserve, because they have a printing press. They can print unlimited. They've already told you, they've said this is unlimited how much we can do. And what they're doing to tighten right now, they've already told you that it's data dependent. Anyway, let's move on and check the dollar, or we'll finish our show at 106.64. Thank you guys for listening. And, you know, I'm going to tell you guys what. I've had a little bit of problems lately with things like laryngitis and stuff. I had a couple days this weekend. I couldn't produce shows and stuff. I do have a few more pet pictures I'm going to run through toward the end of the week to finish off on what's going on. Okay? And so if your pet picture hasn't showed up, just be patient. I mean, I know it's been a while because been a lot of sickness around. I mean, there's been a lot of colds and flus going around, a lot more than usual for a normal summer. And it has a lot to do with what's going on with the whole COVID situation over the last 2 years. How people isolated and everything else, and all the measures and masks and all these different things that humanity's been doing has had effect upon viruses and stuff. I'm talking about colds and flus, regular colds and flus. And so these have not been typical seasons. Like we normally have a seasonal virus season, a colds and flu season. These things are out of whack right now because of the elephant in the room. COVID has put these things out of whack. So we're actually having flu season in the wrong time of year in places in the world, and we're having people get sick in the summertime. Where normally people get sick in the wintertime. Now people end up getting sick in the summertime. So everything's a little bit out of whack right now. Anyway, listen, I'm rambling on, guys. You guys have a great afternoon, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.